What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about the Switch 2 and the talk around its power. Now, I'm several days late to this, and in fact, I saw this tweet the day it was originally posted. It kind of blew up, and I didn't really think much of it when I first saw it, but pretty much what this boils down to is just concern about the power level of the Switch. And I think really what it's done is it's revealed a lot of kind of crazy expectations for people. Now, okay, let me be clear here. It's your money. You're buying a $400, $500, whatever this thing ends up costing, right? I think it's going to come a little bit on the cheaper end, and you're also going to kind of pay for what you get. If you're going to pay $700, then you would get, I think, a stronger handheld console. You're not paying that, and you're going to get what you're going to get. You can have problems with that. You can not buy it if you don't like it. It's your money. It's your $300 to $500, right? So I just want to make that clear because I do think that's true, and I think that can kind of be taken away from the whole conversation that I don't really think is fair. But in terms of, honestly, realistic expectations of what the Switch 2 is, right? I think people are comparing it, or people wanting to compare it to the PS5 and the Series X and saying like, oh my dear God, this thing isn't going to be as big of a jump as that. There's reports that the thing is not even going to be as strong as I think the PS4 Pro is one thing that I saw. Look, ultimately, it's not announced yet, and things might change. I honestly see 2 or 3 rumors about the Switch 2 like every day now. It's just ticking down, right? Like, we're going to see it probably within the next month or two anyway. But I will say, what were people thinking? And what were people thinking realistically? Because I'll tell you, at least what I'm thinking, I think it's really come into scope recently. It's going to be a more powerful Switch. Like, Nintendo, like it or don't like it, and I think for their business, it's probably been a more positive thing. They've gotten themselves into this corner where they're incredibly successful, but you can't really change or go backwards from what they're doing. Does that make sense? You could argue technically any console is like that. Maybe Xbox is the most fluid because they don't really care about the console. They just care about playing their games anywhere, right? But generally, like, if you have a gimmick or you have a thing, that's your thing, and you're probably just going to, iterate on it slightly here and there. And that's probably what the Switch 2 is going to be. The Switch 2 is going to be a more powerful Switch, and in my opinion, it's going to lessen the gap between the Switch and the PS5 and Series X. Now, I'm not saying how much it'll lessen the gap. It'll lessen the gap, right? If it's 5 times more powerful, the PS5 and Series X, maybe it halves, right? Maybe it's now 2.5 more times powerful. The thing is, at least for me, I'm getting the Switch like with the knowledge of what the Switch is. I'm getting the Switch 2 with the knowledge of what the Switch 2 is, right? It is exactly what it is. It is a system that you can dock, you can hold in your hand, you can travel. It's got its first-party games. And that's, for me, that's it. The power of Nintendo, I think, is just doing what they do incredibly well and incredibly consistent, right? They don't go crazy. They stay in their lane, and they absolutely achieve success. And that's another thing where it's like, painting it as some massive negative where it's going to hurt. I guarantee you, and this is what I've been saying, over the last couple of days doing like my 2025 previews, Nintendo is going to have the best year. Like, Xbox maybe has the best portfolio of games that are going to come out, but Nintendo is going to release a system. And it could crash and burn, right? We've seen systems fail, but the odds of the Switch 2 not doing well seem like 1% or less to me. The Switch 2 is going to sell unreal. The Switch is like the second highest selling console, period, right? I think besides the PS2. That's unbelievable, and that's happened right under our noses for the last, 8 years or whatever, right? So it's like, I don't know, and that's kind of just me, okay? Now, everybody, again, is going to have different expectations, and they're going to want it to do different things. Maybe you're going to want to compare it to, the ROG or the Steam Deck, or maybe you want to compare it to the Series X or PS5, but it's the Switch. The Switch is the Switch, and the Switch 2 is the second version of it. It's going to do everything that the Switch does, but slightly better. It's going to run, backwards compatibility. Hasn't been confirmed, I think, but it's been, heavily speculated that it's going to happen, and it's going to have its first-party games. You're going to have a 3D Mario game on the thing. You're probably going to get a Mario Kart on the thing. Metroid's going to, and it's going to sell 10, 20 million units in the first year. It's going to hit 100 plus million units lifetime. It just is what it is. And I know I'm going so far away from the power, but that's kind of the point. You know what I mean? Now, look, I am expecting it to be more powerful than the Switch. Like that just, you see games coming out on the Switch, like Life is Strange Double Exposure was a good recent example. Mortal Kombat, you know, when you don't optimize that thing, it looks unbelievably funny. And it looks unbelievably funny as somebody that would never buy that version, right? If you're buying that version, I think you'd be unbelievably furious that that's the effort that was put in. But maybe it would be easier if the system wasn't so, not powerful compared to like the newer stuff. And again, I think that's fair. I don't think that's super unreasonable or anything, but I don't know. I just kind of look at it for what it is. If it's not as powerful as whatever, like the pro versions of the last gen, yeah, it's not a really big step up, but then also it's like, does anybody really care? And I think people can care and people do care, but not an overwhelming number. You tell me that the second highest selling console of all time, right, that's still done well. It's slowed down a little bit, but even the last 5 years, as we've really started to notice that the Switch 2 is lagging behind, right? Say even since 2020, you got the PS5, you got the Series S and X. It's another generational gap beyond, already it was weaker than the PS4 and Xbox One. Okay, the Switch was already below it. Now it's even more below the newer stuff, and yet it still keeps selling, and yet people still keep buying the games. It just kind of does what it does. Does that make sense? So that's kind of my expectation for the Switch too. I don't really care how powerful it is because I'm expecting it to be more powerful than the Switch. I think that's a given. And then it's going to have its exclusives. Its exclusives are always the better optimized. You don't get the Life is Strange and the Mortal Kombats of the world from Mario, or like if Mario Kart 9 comes out, it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to be that poorly optimized. It'll have its stuff. And then the third party stuff, like it is important. It's not important to me, like flat out at all. I really do not buy third-party games on the Switch. If it comes out on the Switch and any other system, I will get it on the other system just because of, actually a lot of it does come down to the power, but also just preference, and it's not what I'm looking for the Switch to do. The Switch, again, is what it is. It's a family device. It's a handheld and a dockable thing. That's what the Switch is, and that's what the Switch 2 is going to be. I'm not expecting it to suddenly rival my PS5. You know what I mean? I'm not expecting to play, pick a GTA 6. That's not my preferred console of choice to play GTA 6 on. Can they get it working on that? And could that help it sell like a couple million units? Yeah, people will buy it, but not me. I'm not going to. Why in God's name would I do it? But that's just my preference. Other people aren't like me. So just wanted to kind of weigh in on that. I don't know. I've seen a lot of people being like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I can't believe that. Are we really that surprised? Are we really surprised that the Switch 2 is not going to be all that powerful? It just needs to be more powerful than the first Switch, and I think most people are going to get it no matter what. So that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.